While many people strive to become homeowners one day and eventually rent out their very own rental property, most don't have a clue about what it really takes to become a successful landlord. This might even be you watching now. And that's why in this video, you'll learn 8 things you need to know before becoming a landlord. Believe me, this advice will be informative and interesting to say the least. But if you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button so you stay up to date on our weekly real estate content. Now, let's jump into it. I will start by defining the term landlord. Landlord or homeowner refers to the owner of a property who rents or leases the property to another person in exchange for paying the rent. Owners can be individuals, companies, or other legal entities. The landlord or tenant is responsible for the cleanliness and general maintenance of the property, while the landlord usually provides any maintenance or repairs needed during the lease term. The specific obligations and responsibilities of each party are usually set out in the lease agreement. Let me go into more detail on some important things you must understand about becoming a landlord. Number 1. Special considerations. There are a few landlords who own property but are not located on or near it. These units are called absentee lessors. Being an absent landlord can be dangerous for landlords. Total damage or loss due to negligence or carelessness of the tenant is always a concern. Squats can occur without proper oversight, and evicting tenants can be problematic. Number 2. Maintenance. When transferring a property to a tenant, you are responsible for ensuring that the property is in a livable condition by maintaining common areas and plumbing, providing winter heating, repairing equipment, and keeping the rental property safe and sound. Heating and plumbing issues should be resolved within 24 hours, but less urgent repairs should be completed within 48 hours. In most states, landlords must ensure that the property being rented is in good condition when the tenant moves in. Even after the tenant moves in, the landlord is required to carry out repairs and maintenance to keep the property in a habitable condition. What's considered habitable are properties that are free from pests, have adequate heating, water, electricity, and no structure damage. Laws vary from state to state and even from city to city. Number 3. Learn your state's rental rules. Before buying or building a rental property, make sure you understand state and local laws and regulations. Sometimes zoning regulations on housing or condominium associations do not allow properties in certain areas to be used as rental properties. You may also have to pay special fees or taxes for property rentals or undergo regular inspections. Those who do not follow this rule face a heavy fine. Other laws govern the rights and obligations of tenants and landlords and determine what must be included in a lease. Many free online resources provide lease templates, but if you don't use a state-compliant template, the template will no longer be valid and you may run into problems. If you need to sue a tenant, seek legal advice to make sure the lease is valid and meets all state and local requirements. It is better to entrust this to a real estate lawyer. I recommend that you hire a lawyer to review your rental and provide feedback or suggest changes. Number 4. Notice to tenant about upcoming entry into the rental property. Most states require landlords to notify tenants 24 to 48 hours before moving. However, the owner may enter the rental property at any time without notice to perform emergency repairs. In some jurisdictions, the landlord may exercise the right to enter without notice if the tenant is away for an extended period to inspect the building to ensure everything is in order and to make any necessary repairs. If the landlord violates these laws, the tenant can sue them. In some states, such as California, if the owner enters the rental unit without proper notice, the tenant can file a harassment lawsuit and the landlord can also be fined. Number 5. Know how to handle tenant problems. Even with a good selection process, problems with tenants can occur. They may not pay your rent on time or cause property damage. Ask the tenant to sign a report detailing the condition of the property and equipment at the time of the move. This way, you can get existing damaged documents before they arrive. The lease agreement must specify the penalties that the tenant may impose if he or she violates any part of the agreement. This is another area in which it is important to understand state and local laws. Each state has rules regarding how much time a landlord must give a tenant to resolve a problem before they can sue. If it gets to a point of evicting the tenant and taking them to court, the judge will review the lease and decide if the tenant violated it. If the judge orders the tenant to move out, the apartment cannot be locked by the landlord. You must ask the local police or sheriff to evict the tenant. Number 6. The financial obligations involved. Before considering real estate or taking any other action, make sure you are prepared to dedicate the time and financial resources required to succeed. You must understand that this is a business, not a hobby. You have to take it seriously. People who do it as a hobby usually suffer because it is not their top priority. In addition to the time and money required to maintain the house, you must be prepared to meet the needs of the tenant. You can hire a property management company to do this for you. Although these are additional costs, approximately 10% of the monthly rent, the company takes care of most of the work of the landlord, from finding new tenants and collecting rent to mowing the lawn and maintenance of the property. Take the time to do your homework and evaluate your financial resources before jumping in and becoming a landlord. Number 7. Know how to screen your tenants. You must know how to interview prospective renters before purchasing or building an investment property and moving toward becoming a landlord. Potential tenants should have their credit and background checked. Trust me, it is time well spent. A tenant's credit score is a useful screening tool, even though it shouldn't be the only factor in whether you accept or reject them. Check references, especially those from former employers and landlords. To ensure that you feel comfortable speaking with the possible tenants, you should also interview them. Remember that it is prohibited to discriminate against tenants based on the aforementioned factors. Number 8. Location. One of the key factors affecting the value of residential real estate or any other building is location. A location may be both tangible and intangible. Accessibility, proximity to transportation hubs, building regulations, population growth, proximity to workplaces, or community amenities are examples of tangible location factors. On the other hand, unseen location characteristics are referred to as intangible location factors. Race, crime, safety, religious leanings, and cultural identities are some of them. Location is an important thing one needs to know before acquiring property, because the location has a lot of effect on the price of the rent. Landlords can rent residential or commercial tenants depending on zoning restrictions and property type. The landlord and tenant are bound by a lease, which is obviously a legal contract that sets out the rights and obligations of each party. Being a landlord can provide passive rental income, but it can also come with unexpected costs and inherent legal and financial risks. Landlords are not allowed to discriminate, such as being based on race, sexual orientation, among other things. They cannot enter a building without prior notice, forcibly evict tenants, raise rent without prior notice, or take property and rent from others, which is called a tenant or leaseholder. Landlords invest in real estate as a source of financial gain. By owning and renting out a property, the owner can earn a steady income along with the potential increase in the value of the property. Owners can be individuals, companies, or other organizations such as government organizations. The type of property they own can also vary. This means that the type of property they own is not limited to housing. In addition to single-family homes, your real estate portfolio may include shopping malls, construction offices, or multi-purpose buildings. Landlords usually use lease agreements when renting property. A lease is a legally binding agreement setting out the terms under which one party agrees to lease real estate from the other. It guarantees the use of the property by the tenant or tenants, and the landlord, which is the property owner, is entitled to regular payments for a certain period of time. Hit the subscribe button and thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. But honestly, if you want to know the true principles and things that will make you a respected and valued landlord, I recommend checking out this playlist right now to give you all the information you need to get started. I'll see you in the next video.